Hello and welcome to a special presentation from In the Money Media. This is our show about Maryland Million Day, one of the great, in some quarters, unsung days of racing in the United States. Really, I'm often conflicted and haven't been able to get down there in a number of years, but I know it's a great time and it's great racing that people will be betting all over the country, all over the world. So we thank our friends at the MHBA for sponsoring this show, and we'll bring in our two guests, the first of whom is from the MHBA. He's John Piasek. John, how are things?
I mean, it's my Breeders' Cup week pretty much, Pete. I've been busy all week helping put together all of our stuff, getting our silent auction ready, our live auction tomorrow, and handicapping all these races. I mean, it's always a great day of racing, both as a fan and as a bettor, and this year is no exception.
Yeah, we're very happy in the money to be involved on the sponsorship side as well down there. And gosh, I really next year I'm going to plan. I'm going to make my first commitment getting down for Maryland Million Day and build the rest of my fall travel around it. To talk about this day, to do some handicapping with us on this plethora of stakes races, we also bring in the lead analyst. I think she's the lead analyst. She is in my mind anyway, from the Maryland simulcast feed, returning guest to the show, Callie Francois. Callie, how are things?
Pete, things are ready to get rocking and rolling. We're recording this right before Thursday's card, so just a lot of great racing to come throughout the whole weekend. And as John said, Maryland Million Day is no exception.
Excellent. Well, let's dive right in to the analysis. We can go on any tangents we want along the way, but let's start at race number 7, where we've got this Maryland Million Sprint, 100,000 in the pot. We're going 6 furlongs on the dirt, and we have a full field of 9 signed on. Callie, let's light this candle with you. What numbers will be on your tickets in this?
Okay, so we've got to start things off, of course, with Johnny Z from Albany. Underneath, I do go with Twisted Ride going to the lead and Hello Hot Rod to wrap up my picks. But focusing things, we're all waiting. Johnny Z from Albany is potentially, in my viewpoint, set up to run one of the better races possibly of his career. With the way Phil has set him up just for this race, I think he's going to come in with a bomb.
Certainly looks like one who could prove to be the best speed on the front end. Is that the trip you're looking for, Callie, from Johnny Z, right there or thereabouts throughout?
Yes. So he's shown some slight tactical speed. I think he's going to have to use it. There is one potential speed horse that's his only card to play, and he does have the other horse that I'm thinking of. He does have quicker gate speed than Johnny Z. So if Johnny Z can use any of that little bit of tactical speed, Twisted Ride has the gate speed to be your dominant pace setter in this race, and that's where I think it would be good for the connections to maybe just sit right off of that pace, because he's plenty capable of doing that.
And then drawn outside of that key pace rival in your estimation, that's perfect, because it gives Rodriguez options in terms of if for some reason that one doesn't break or takes back, you can go forward or get that chance to maybe glue and stalk and pounce along the way. John, let's bring you in here, and we'll start with your thoughts on the pace of this race. Do you think Callie's got it right that it'll either be Twisted Ride or Johnny Z from Albany out there early first?
I can see a few others showing speed. I think Fine Faith going third off the layoff has some speed down at the inside. Don't think he'll hold on, but he'll always make things interesting. Al Loves Josie, who has done quite well on this track, 17 lifetime at Laurel. He'll also go to the front from the outside. So I can see things getting a little bit spicy on the front end. That being said, Johnny Z from Albany has in the past taken off the pace a little bit, so it's not like urgent that he goes to the front end. So if Jamie Rodriguez decides it's a little too fast up front, he could take back. I think Twisted Ride, as Callie mentioned, might have a little more gate speed. So I see Twisted Ride going right out to the front. I think Twisted Ride is the best choice in here as far as pure ability. Whether I picked Johnny Z on top, of course, he is last year's Maryland Million nursery winner and capped off a big day for one of Maryland's up-and-coming stallions, Blofeld, and also gave Dale Capuano his 15th and final Maryland Million winner, now being trained by his nephew Phil. Johnny Z's been kind of off and on all year. He's shown kind of flashes of good stuff. Didn't really run well 2 starts back at Timonium. But last time out, he really put it all together against a pretty tough second-level field at Pimlico. Battled on the pace, drew off pretty impressively late, ran a career best figure on the Brisnet scale. I think he's getting good at the right time, and hopefully Twisted Ride takes enough money that Johnny Z goes off at a decent price. I'm also looking at number 2, Sevens 11, who made his second start off the layoff last time for Carlos Mencia and ran an absolute hole in the wind. He stalked a fast pace, crushed the field by 8.5 lengths, ran far and away a career best figure. In fact, the second straight dirt race in which he's run a career best figure. Keep talking about all the speed in here. 7-11 has tactical speed if the pace ends up being that fast, and Twisted Ride and Johnny Z from Albany can hang. It could be another runaway win for 7-11.
7-4-2 for John as we kick things off in the sprint. And from there, we move on to the turf. The Maryland Million Turf Sprint Stakes. We're going 5.5, and talk about a big full field. We've got 14 in the body. Callie, how's the weather been down there? How are we looking for being on the turf for Saturday?
So I think regardless, even if we do get a touch of rain, which is a little bit expected, there's a pretty decent chance we'll have some rain. As to how heavy it's going to be, that has yet to be determined. I'm taking a look at my radar right now, actually, and just seeing what's coming up. Yeah, we've got some, if you look at the radar, we've got some potential heavy stuff there. So I'm playing the optimistic and still kind of gunning and handicapping for staying on the turf. I feel like it's Maryland Million Day. They're going to do everything they can, even if it's a yielding turf course, they're going to do what they can to keep it on the turf. But we do expect some rain on Saturday.
Well, let's be optimists, like you said, and say we're going to stay on the turf. Which horses would you want to be focusing on?
Okay, so we're going to focus on, of course, Witty, who came back, who, came to not easier company, but ran some pretty tough races at Parks and throughout the Mid-Atlantic, got it done in the Ben's Cat. I also include just to the outside underneath, and Sky's Not Falling, defending championship turf sprint winner of last year, who is on a great roll and just missed out on the Ben's Cat as well. I also go, I believe, with Synergy Star for Kenny Cox and Grateful Bread underneath.
All right, couple of horses to mix in terms of Synergy Star. And who was the other one you mentioned as a potential to get in there underneath, Callie, just for my notes?
Grateful Bread.
Grateful. How could I forget that name? Grateful
It's hard
Bread.
because he hasn't had the best he hasn't had the best 2023 campaign. So it's easy to kind of understand that with the slew of talent that we have in this field.
5937 for Callie. John, what are your numbers in here?
So I have number 3, Synergy Star on top. Witty, who's Caravel's half-brother, I might add, and the son of Maryland's top stallion, Great Notion. As far as pure ability goes, like with Twisted Ride, Witty is the best horse in this field. He just does not like to win. Going into the Ben's Cat, he had run 7 times this year, no wins, 5 seconds. And really, he should have won the Ben's Cat by more than he did. His prisoner figure regressed quite a bit. He had been going in the 90s pretty steadily, and he dropped down to an 85. If he had run his usual race, he probably wins that race by 2 or 3 lengths. So he just really is not big on winning. He likes to run with the pack, I guess. I mean, he can win. He can beat me. But at low odds, I can't take him on top. I ended up going with number 3, Synergy Star, also by Great Notion, bred in part by Tom and Chris Bowman, our leading breeders around here. He ran huge in the Meadow Stable to last out at Colonial Downs. Gobbled up ground on the outside, just missed behind Determined Kingdom, a very nice veteran of the circuit. Ran a nice figure and had been on good form on dirt prior to that. He won a second level race pretty easily 2 starts back, coming from well off the pace of the 5-wide rush. Just missed behind another nice local horse, Indian Lake, in the start before that. And he should take full advantage of the very long stretch run in these 5.5 furlong grass races. If you want 2 long shots in here, number 11, Commanding General, has a lot of early speed and hung around late in the Ben's Cat. I think he's at least going to be the main speed of this one. And if the closers don't fire for some reason, he could take him a long way. Also, the 14, When I Get to Heaven, already has a win on the lower grass. Should have 2, but that's another story. Has been in steady form, has good tactical speed, and could get up for the exotics at a nice price.
See that point on the 11 potentially being loose, but yeah, you're probably right about coming back to the pack. I'm super psyched to see Whitty. I'm a huge fan of Elizabeth Merriman and her whole operation, breeding and racing in Maryland for a long time. Many moons ago, a different lifetime. Really, I had some horses with her, and she was just wonderful to work with. And I always root for Elizabeth Merriman. Let's go to race number 9, where we've got the Maryland Million Nursery race we were talking about before. We've got 6 furlongs on the dirt. Again, the theme of the day, big full field in this one. John, we'll keep it with you.
So, as you mentioned, it's a wide open race. It's kind of chaotic. And, I was following a build up to the Maryland Million all year. And really, I had noticed no, big Maryland sire two-year-old had really emerged. So I was kind of anticipating a wide open race, and that's what we got. The top pick in here is coming in from Parks. Number 6, Colors, trained by John Service. Abner Adorno comes in from Parks for the mount. He ran a big race in his first start, I thought, back on August 21st. Chased the pace, ended up second, ran a huge figure, going to 90 on the Brisnet scale. The horse who won that race, Notice of Action, came back to win the Prince Lucky Stakes on Pennsylvania Derby Day. Kohlers also appeared on Pennsylvania Derby Day and made a special weight in the mud. So if it does come up wet, he's already proven on that type of track. Got into a 3-way speed duel and held his own. I mean, he ended up coming in third, ran a decent figure. He did progress a bit off that debut, but he still ran an 82, which is a lot better than anybody else in this field has run at any point in their lives. He has blinkers here and has been near the pace in his first 2 starts. It kind of tells me that they're planning on sending him to the front. As long as he breaks well, he's going to be a tough customer on the front end.
I hear the case, cutting back slightly, getting off the slop. A lot to like about Kohlers. Any to go with, or is Kohlers your sort of main focus in there?
I really like the 11. I should say I really liked the last race of the 11, Full Truth by Anchor and Hope's Bourbon Courage. Went gate to wire, ran a huge figure, improved sharply off his debut. Should be forwardly placed once again for Angel Cruz and Richie Silliman. Also, Blame the Tux, ran big on the grass at Colonial Downs in his first start. If he takes to dirt, no guarantee, but if he does take to dirt, he's going to be pretty interesting.
On pedigree, Holy Boss and Blame and the pedigree, you'd think Blame the Tux might be able to make that adjustment. We shall see.
So.
Callie, let's bring you back in to get your thoughts here. You seeing this as open an affair as John and I are?
I do see it as a bit of an open-ended affair. However, open-ended affair, I think, underneath in regards to the number 6 Kohlers, that's who I have on my top selection as well. And while we don't have any big positive 2-year-olds that have come out through the season, the breeding underneath a lot of these is a little underrated in my viewpoint. With the blinkers on, just to add to the Kohlers conversation, last time out, just running happy within himself, just relaxed a little bit early. That was also the 6.5, the longest he's ever gone. So it's not sure it's for the speed, but it's more for to keep that one focused at the end of the race. Both races just kind of got to the 8th, 16th and was like, okay, I did my job. So that's essentially what I assume the blinkers are going to be going for. I go with the 4, Catahoula Moon. Jerry Robb Perez. The Dam's half was a Maryland Million Sprint runner, and the Graham Dam was a listed Sprint Stakes winner in Maryland. The light bulb clicked on around the bull ring, made things a lot easier. So it was a little bit of a key race. Also back at that Pimlico effort, was bumped in between fighting horses down the lane, had a little bit of fight back, and was also on the left lead on the backside the entire time going around there. And I agree in Full Proof, Ricky Silliman, who's doing well with his youngsters. This one is a half to Skylar's sister, who was a good second in the Lassie last year. And that last field included a Russell and a Delacour starter. And then I also include a Russell Prado Road. This one is also coming off of a wet track. But the dam of the winner in that race last time out was second in the Frizette. And then in the Delaware run, didn't want to really drift from the pack and then was caught by a late charger.
Lots of ways to go in race number 9 as we pivot to our 10th race on the card, where we've got the Maryland Million Distaff going 7 furlongs. I'll say it again. Big full field attracted. Callie, we'll keep it with you.
Yep, Fee Spree. This potentially, and I'm not sure if it's official, but it's whispers that this could be her swan song on Saturday. So of course she's coming back off of a winning effort in that optional 55. There's not much to say. She just missed out on the Barbara Fritchie. She had to take some time off for a good reason. She had a straight up concussion in the Alma North last year. Just a tough filly. To me, that's going to be probably my single, although Malibu Beauty is going to be putting in a pretty good fight. This filly has been one to keep an eye on. She just lost out to Interstate Daydream in the Twix, who was 3 for 3 in Maryland. So the 7 furlongs isn't totally elusive for Malibu Beauty. At the Timonium Distaff was really encouraging. Something that differs from last year versus this year as far as the Maryland Million Distaff goes is that Timonium Distaff was not in the prep, and I think the Timonium Distaff was a good prep for what she has to deal with today. And then for underneath, I go with Response Time and, of course, Luna Bell coming back into action.
Yes, Luna Bell, definitely one of the ones that sort of leapt off the page, and I was going to ask you guys about if it didn't come up. John, how about you? Is this all about Fee Spree here back in 15 days, maybe for one more go? This terrific 7-year-old race mare.
Yeah, the defending Maryland Vet Horse of the Year as well. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is the feature race of the day. It's absolutely stacked. A lot of all-stars of the circuit are here. It's really a fantastic field. I know you mentioned Luna Bell. I mean, with all due respect to all the high-profile fans that she has out there, I am looking forward very much to fading her. And if she beats me at low odds, I will let her beat me. I mean, she has a lot of ability. Obviously, she loves this track, but she has not raced in a year and a half. No matter who you are, it's really hard to come back. I would have liked to see another prep. They didn't give her one. Has worked her straight through since early August. And quite frankly, even if she runs her best race, I don't know if she's as good as Fee Spree or Response Time, who's the other Hammy Smith trainee, and my top pick, who is By Country Life's Mosley, who also bred her. If there was such a thing as a Maryland Million Distaff future book, you might have bet Response Time in it over the winter. We had a lot of huge races on this track, won 3 out of 4 at one point, including wins against some of the top female sprinters on the grounds. Got some time off after a door race as the odds-on choice in the Conniver back in mid-March, has been slowly rounding back into form, and kind of the crescendo of that was her win in the Timonium Distaff. Mm-hmm. Now, Malibu Beauty, well known for her early speed, Response Time beat Malibu Beauty to the punch. I mean, she was second going into the first turn of that race. Malibu Beauty was third early on, and then Response Time held Malibu Beauty at bay, ran a career best Grisnet figure of 97, right back in the range that she had been running over the winter. To me, this says she's right back to her usual self, should be tough on the lead. And that being said, while I think she'll be a better price than Fee Spree, it will not shock me if Fee Spree just blew by her at the top of the stretch and left too early. But Response Time.
Well, let me interrupt, because my daughter Perrin, who's a new horse racing fan, very much looking to come to next year's
Hi, sweetie.
has popped in. She must have a question. Aren't you supposed to be at school? What's going on?
No, he just came back from the orthodontist.
Oh, got back from the orthodontist. Are you getting braces?
Braces or Invisalign? We have to choose.
We have to choose. Well, we're going to have to hit some of these exotic bets on Maryland Million Day to pay for this orthodonture. How about this? We're just going to finish up our show, and then I'll come up and you can tell me all about it.
Okay.
Sound good?
Which way are you leaning as far as braces or Invisalign?
It's because with Invisalign, like, it's hard to choose because Invisalign there are no food restrictions.
Ooh.
And
exactly.
Then, with braces, they're like more colorful. But Invisalign is way harder to like keep up.
I wish we could say this podcast was brought to us by Invisalign.
Here's what I'm gonna say. As far as, because I went the braces route.
Me too.
Okay.
And then I have an Invisalign type of retainer that I have to wear once every couple of nights, a couple of nights a week. And I will say that just remember, and I say this as a compliment, remember your age. There are a lot of fun things happening at lunchtime. It is so easy to lose your Invisalign during lunch. I have done it multiple times, and while braces aren't super fun, you can make them colorful
Mhm.
And it's always it's always fun to look back on your life and was like, I went through a braces phase. So
Mhm.
I'm just,
We love the advice. Parents thinking about this very, very hard. We're going to have to send Callie a thank you note for this advice. All right, let us finish up the show. We'll chat in a minute, okay?
Okay.
High
nice
five.
to meet you.
Unscheduled visit from parent, but that's we got a lot of unscheduled
it.
visits from children and pets on the In the Money Media Network. So it
I
was
stood out.
very on brand. John, getting back to the distaff, I love your case on response time. I could absolutely see it
Agreed.
playing out
Sold.
as you said. What were there any others you wanted to mention besides 8 and 10, or you think?
One long shot I kind of like underneath is number 3, Marvelous. Also trained by
Well,
Carlos Mencia. For owner Mike Sheffries, won the Maryland Million Distaff starter last year. Gobbled up ground in the last half, won by 3.5 lengths, going away after falling 16 lengths behind in the early stages. Made up similar ground and won the Conniver Stakes in a 26-1 upset earlier this year. Just missed in some of her last few starts. Ran a big race last time at Timonium, in a race that produced a pair of Nest Out winners. She has far and away her best late speed in this field. Don't know if she's fast enough late to catch response time or the Esprit, but it would not shock me at all if she blew up the exotics at a big number.
Maybe one to come running, and plus, what a fun name to say, Marvelous.
Well, last year I always do recaps after all the Maryland Million races for our website, and my headline in the Distaff starter was "Marvelous was marvelous" in the Distaff.
You look marvelous. That's my suggestion. If you need it,
I love it.
That's good.
Let's go to the
If
Maryland
she
Million.
wins, I'm gonna take that for the interview.
Oh, please, definitely. Let's let another reason to root for that long shot to get in the mix there. Let's talk about the race that gives the day its name, the Maryland Million Classic. We're going a mile and an eighth. We've got a field of 8 with the 3 potential also eligibles in here due to the sort of unique conditions of the race. Callie, who's going to win the Maryland Million?
Okay, so I've got my money, and I'm hoping this one comes at a little bit of value. And this is a horse I have been chasing all summer long. All 3s for Hammy Smith, Sheldon Russell. After some doing of efforts of all the hard work as far as setting the pace towards 3 back, 2 back. They tried to take him back, and at first it was on that last session at Pimlico was also a little bit like a schooling session. Sheldon tried to take him back a little bit. He resisted at first on the backside, had absolutely no cover. So this gelding tried to drag Sheldon up there towards the front end, was just very enthusiastic. And then at the top of the stretch was just 3 wide in that matchup, and just having to asking to run a little bit early. Everett Song just is coming, just a dominant performance by Everett Song. It's kind of, that horse is kind of on the comeback, but I think Sheldon has a better idea of how to finagle this gelding by Great Notion a little bit better today.
Yeah, it's a good case. Is it all about all 3s for you, or should we list any
No,
others?
this is a bit of so you have to include Double Crown, of course, from that win last time out. Polynesian was an interesting race because not only did Be Better bounce, but also Zabra Cadabra and Our Nation on Parade did as well. So looking at that ride, honestly, J-Ron won that race. I thought it was a beautiful ride, beautifully done, and that horse has had ample time and spacing in between campaigns. So I think those are my 2 key horses. I include Our Nation on Parade, last year's winner, just hoping for a bounce back, but those are my 2 big key horses.
Gotcha. Love it. John, how about you? Who do you like in the million?
Yeah, I picked Double Crown on top, 9-5 morning line. Hopefully get a little bit better than that. He kind of has a reputation as being inconsistent, but if you take out the races where he really didn't belong, he tried the Charlestown Classic, that didn't work. He was on grass a few times, that didn't work. Take those races out and only look at the races against this is Stakes Company or upper level allowance horses. He really hasn't run a bad race as of late. I mean, he won on this track back in August. Ran a solid third a few starts back. Of course, the Polynesian ran a big race. Yes, as Callie mentioned, a few horses bounced, but it was still a very professional effort. Ran a big figure, one going away. And the son of Anchor and Hope's Bourbon Courage should have decent pace to run into. I mean, all 3s, I have to respect him because he always tries hard, but he just never lasts on a lead. I think he's gonna have a hard time lasting here. Our Nation Off Parade should have some foot, as should Market Maven, and that'll make things set up well for Double Crown.
2, 6, and 4. If I were to give your full sort of reckoning of the race, but strong preference for the 2, does that sound about right?
Yeah, I picked a 2, 1, 8, 6. I like Loose Ends a little bit as well. A son of country life's Divining Rod, bred in Pennsylvania. I kind of had my eye on this horse for a while. He's been hanging around these kind of tracks for a while, doing most of his running at Delaware and Parks. Finally broke through for his first win in a while last out. Had to sustain a move for a long time. He was last early on, kind of made a move in the teeth of the pace, and had to fight for about a solid half mile. Did get up and win by 3 parts of length and ran an 89, his best figure in months. I'm not quite sure if his ceiling is as high as Double Crown ceiling. So if that one runs his race, I don't think Loose Ends can beat him. That being said, Loose Ends is fairly young. He's 4. Double Crown is 6. Loose Ends has decent late speed. I think he has to be at least respected.
And connections that I sort of expect to come forward to. A big fan of the work that Carl Lynch does, and big Will Humphrey fan as well, who's been known to listen and watch in the Money Media coverage. So we appreciate that. Let's do some bonus coverage. Let's do this nightcap. It's starter allowance going a mile and a 16th. We'll be optimists and hope it's going to be on the turf. But for folks playing that late pick 5 or the jackpot pick 6, this is a key race. And boy, I hope it stays on the turf, because we can have a really interesting field of 14 going postward here. John, who wins the thing?
This race, much like the others, is chaos. Actually, it's especially chaos because it's basically starter allowance horses. If we stay on the grass, I went with number 4, Sorolla, 4, Milan, Milicevic. Sheldon Russell stays aboard after his win last time out, and it was a nice win. He always makes these big late rallies, doesn't always convert them into wins, but did do so last time off pretty mild fractions. Gobbled up ground toward the rail and got up to win by 3 parts of a length. Ran a career best 80 that day. Not a lot of these run 80s too often. So I thought that was pretty encouraging. He should have a good late kick, and as long as he doesn't get into too much trouble, and if anyone keeps him out of trouble, it'll be Sheldon. He's going to be heard from late.
I like that. I like the sound of that. Any others to mention, or at least list in the official picks we're going to send around?
I picked it 4, 7, 9, 1. Bonded has held his own at this level as well. He's another son of Blofeld and won on this track. 3 starts back against Initial Foe, stayed close to the pace that day and kicked on. Hopefully Forrest Boyce, who is closing in on 1,000 career wins. She has 977 as of this recording, nice. And has been off to an excellent start at the Laurel Farm meet. And the old man, number 9, Nick Papa Giorgio, first off the claim by Brandon Culp, finished 6th in the turf last year after chasing the pace. Finally got back to grass in his last 2 starts. Has chased well and gotten a share. I think he could do the same thing today.
4, 7, 9, and 1 to close it out for John. Callie, how about you? What do you like in this nightcap?
I like the 4, but not in my top selection. I go 3, 4, 9, 10. I go with Brilliant Chase for Jamie Ness and Rodriguez. Taking a look, I like those fields that he has come out of. Of course, Sorolla gave his argument. Nick Papagiorgio, of course, coming off Spiritual Kind, the winner of that last race, was winning. He was on his way to winning 3 in a row. And then I go and throw in Sigmund for Mikey Gorm, Martina Rojas. Martina Rojas has been getting some wonderful run out of horses, especially coming into this fall meet at Laurel Park. But winner of that last field, Bailout, is having a great season overall and finally just got some luck. So Mikey Gorm's due for a little bit of luck coming his way for the fall.
Knocking on the door has been Sigmund, and that would be one that could certainly light up these late picks should we get that one across. 3, 4, 9, 10 for Callie. Just one quick question each for you before we send it away. Callie, I want to talk to you about the best places for people to get all of their Maryland Million coverage. Park it on the simulcast feed. You guys got anything special cooking?
So we do. We have So Brian from Gulfstream is actually in town this week. He's going to be on the show with me tomorrow and Saturday for the afternoon. And then we have Dan Illman on for the morning show. And I have to tell you guys, Pete, you and I we all discussed this. Dan is absolutely wonderful, gives great value. We will be on that morning show, I believe, at 10:30. First post time is 11:30, but our morning show and then the picks that we put in on laurelpark.com. But really, I would listen to our live stream from also what myself and Brian have to say, but go back and replay that morning show. If you can't watch it live, replay it. Dan always gives you a good price play, and he just gives great value, and he has great information.
Those two guys are two of my oldest friends, really, in horse racing. Funny enough,
Awesome.
Brian Nato and I worked at the Saratoga Special together 20 years ago.
Wow.
And he's got a great opinion. He does a fantastic job at Gulfstream.
I'm excited because it's my first time working with both of them. So it's going to be a fun weekend for me. Yes.
And Dan, you said it yourself. I mean, just very, very studious. It's been great having him doing the Laurel analysis for Daily Racing Form the last several years. So I would agree more. I think we've got people off to a great start here, obviously, but more good info to come from them. And especially if the weather doesn't allow these races onto the turf, that's the best place to get the updated information from Callie and the team over there. And John, I wanted to bring you back in just to let us know, we're brought to you by the MHBA, the Maryland Horse Breeders Association, and just wanted to hear what other events you guys have coming up for this weekend and beyond.
A lot of big stuff coming up. As I mentioned, our silent auction is currently going on, benefiting the Maryland Horse Foundation. A lot of good items up for grabs. Bidding is open until Monday, October 16th. So if you make a big score on the Maryland Million, you can buy yourself some nice stuff. Got some pretty cool experiences, very cool items. Great shout out to all the folks who donated stuff. And the link to the auction is pinned on our Twitter page at Maryland TB. And we also have a link to the auction at MarylandHorse.com. Once again, bidding is open till Monday, October 16th. Also having our big Sip and Win event tomorrow night, our live auction and cocktail reception. Always a good time. We'll be here at the Maryland Horse Library and Education Center in Reisterstown. So if you're in the area, stop by. It's a pretty cool place to read some books and get a slice of Maryland racing history.
Love it.
And for coverage all week long, and of course on Maryland Million Day itself, on Facebook at Maryland Thoroughbred, and on Twitter and Instagram at Maryland TB. So if you want the live scoop as to what's going on, check us out there. Last year, my phone died as soon as they crossed the wire in the Classic. Fortunately, I got my charger with me, so I was they were saving myself. So I will be sure to be at 100% battery.
ABC.
When I walk in,
John, always be charging.
I will set up my phone charger, probably in Jimmy McHugh's little photo shack by the winner's circle.
Yes.
And that'll be how I get through the day.
Perfect.
That's perfect. I'm going to put a link to the silent auction right in the show notes. So you can go.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Check that out. Hopefully we can get some movement as far as all that stuff goes. All right, team, we're out of time. Callie, that was great stuff. Appreciate the orthodonture advice among the excellent racing advice. John, always great to hear from you and catch up with what's going on with the MHBA to learn more about their work. MarylandThoroughbred.com, I think, is probably the single best URL. John gave you the full scoop of where to get things. For Callie, for John, for the MHBA, for Perrin, who has to I got to run upstairs and make sure she gets to school. I don't want her to use this as an excuse to stay home all morning.
Why not? Come on. Father-daughter day.
Great code at Laurel.
That would be kind of fun. Don't tempt me.
No, sorry. To it.
I can't even get out.
You got the devil on one shoulder and the other devil on the other shoulder.
Exactly. Well, she'll. We did take her out of school to go to the Kentucky Oaks this year, so it's not inconceivable, but not today. Not today. We're going to go onward and upward to school. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.